Hello and welcome back to Blackwatch Intel. My name is Crashy, and today this is going to be a very different video. This is actually going to be a direct reply to a video coming out from Cliff Terios. If you haven't checked out Cliff Terios, his link's in the description, his video, thumbnail should be here on the screen, and he is hands down, one of my favorite Overwatch YouTubers. He's very smart, he looks at the game in a very different way, he's very subjective but objective at the same time, and just everything he says is very interesting, even whenever I don't agree with him. So huge shout out to you, Cliff, if you do happen to come across this video, even though I'll hopefully be getting your attention on Twitter or something. So essentially his video is Season 8 changes affect everyone, and he's talking about the post coming out from Scott Mercer that we talked about earlier this week, and I kind of want to give my thoughts on what I think this is going to do and why I think this is going to change things, because he, in the video, Cliff essentially says he doesn't see how this is going to fix anything. And I want to start by saying I think the changes that the Overwatch team are making is like baby steps and a fraction of the big picture, and it's been something that I've been seeing or thinking that's been going on behind the scenes for a long time, and it really started happening when we started hearing the reports of like Steve-O and Fui 500 getting banned, and the one-tricking debacle, not just the argument about whether or not one-tricking should be allowed, but now that they were actually starting to get bans, and that the the high influx reports are triggering that automated system. And to me, I feel like they're laying the foundation. I mean, it's still early, like almost so early that you can hardly see what they're doing behind the scenes. I feel like they're laying the foundation to legitimize the competitive ladder, and when I say legitimize, I mean to make it very serious. So this getting rid of the performance-based SR, the reason why I think this is a very small, very fraction of a step toward getting rid, in air quotes, getting rid of one-tricks, is because now there is no benefit for putting all of your game time on one hero in event to to kind of game the system, and in event to find a benefit. Now the only reason you could be a one trick, the only reason you would choose to be a one trick, is because you, I don't know, A, feel like that's the only hero you can play, B, are stubborn and literally don't care and want to play only one hero, and I actually get that mentality. I mean, I get it. You find a connection with a hero, you want to master them, you want to be the best version of yourself on that hero that you can be. I get that. That's cool. Or let me see if I can come up with a C alternative of why you would be one-tricking. Essentially, my point is there's no real reason in the system to be a one-trick post these changes. The only reason you one-trick now is because you want to. You simply just want to play the same hero. And again, we haven't been told that that's not allowed, so by all means, play your favorite heroes. So this change is not going to quote-unquote kill one-tricking. It's not the end of one-tricking, but it is in the back end of the system. Now, if I understand the way that this type of MMR and ELO system work, I would say that there is a static plus or minus gain in the system that is affected, like you said in your video, pre-game by your by your chance to win, or your probability to win, rather. By your probability to win. So when the game starts up, and we're just thinking about SR values here, the team that has the higher SR value has the higher probability to win. So there should be some form of equation or multiplier that will make that team that has the higher probability to win lose more points if they lose, and adversely the opposite team will gain more points if they win. But there could still be a static amount of plus or minus SR that is already determined. Let's say 20. It's a very common-ish number that you can climb or fall per loss now. So let's say 20 SR, and then depending on how big of a difference there was, or how big the disparity between SR values or MMR values, whichever one their system uses or is primarily focused on. Again, we don't know. We'll probably never know because of the way that they design their system. Then that's what changes it, whether or not it's 20 or 22, 24, 25, but probably won't be that different. Now, individually, that means that, you know, me playing Symmetra and, you know, you playing Soldier 76, when we both lose, that equation, that problem was already solved, like you said, at the beginning of the game, be based on the averages, based on, you know, the probability and probably the static amount that was set, you know, behind the scenes. And thus, I'm not going to be Symmetra and only lose, you know, 20 points, and you be Soldier 76 and lose, say, 25 points. We will both, because of the team, because of the loss, because of the static amount, we will both lose that, say, 25, 23, 20, whatever it is. The whole team will now lose the same amount. The whole team will now climb the same amount. So getting rid of the performance-based, you know, SR variable in the system doesn't really change much. I mean, it really doesn't. If you're really honest about the way that the game is played, it's not going to change much. The people that are the hardcore one-tricks are almost like protesters in Overwatch. They almost, you know, not necessarily that they're against anything, but it's almost like they have something to prove. And I've said this before. They play the game and they want to win. They try hard. You see that the one-tricks in, you know, top 500 and Grandmasters, they're not bad players. And I've never accused, you know, innately or inherently accused one-trick players of being bad players. They're just players that have given themselves a condition. And I do the same thing. My condition when I play competitive games, I love the difficulty. I will always go after what I find is the most difficult, more often than not. I want to play the roles, I want to play the hero, the class, the set, you know, that is hard. I want to learn it. I want to be good. I think when I started playing Overwatch, I originally was getting super into Tracer, and I wanted to get really good at Widowmaker. I wanted to play heroes that were harder. You know, I wanted to find that return value. I was never a one-trick per se. I mean, I do play a ton of Genji now, but they are playing the game conditionally to some form of law for them. And the people that are already doing that now, they don't care about this system change. But there probably are, I have no data, there's no way to know this, there probably are people out there that were doing, you know, some kind of main or one-tricking practice to game the system. And in regards to that, that's just no longer going to work. So in the bigger picture of things, I don't really think it's going to make much of a difference. I don't think this is going to change anything other than being a baby step toward legitimizing the competitive ladder and making the competitive ladder much more serious. Now, I've said it in the past, I think at this point in time, there are a couple inevitabilities within Overwatch. And I think the first one is the fact that we will eventually get some version of a team queue. I don't know how. I don't know if that means they drop the, you know, current dynamic type queue to solo duo. I would personally love that, a solo duo queue, and then bring in a, you know, full 6-stack queue, or even a 3 to 6-stack queue. I think I've made a video or talked about this in the past. I'd like a queue where you can either join as a 3-stack, so you can have your small groups that also join another 3-stack to make a full 6-man, or a 6-stack queue. So it would be like dynamic in the right that you could have a group of 3 go in and find another group of 3, or a group of 6 and go in against a group of 6. I think that'd be an interesting way to approach a team queue potentially, because, you know, you don't always have a full 6-man team on, and it would still be cool to kind of queue up as 3 potentially. So we'll see. I do think that is an inevitability, though. I think that eventually there's going to be a team queue. The second inevitability that I'm waiting on, and I believe is coming, is some form of role queue, preference queue. We've talked about it here on the channel a bunch. I've given my thoughts about why it wouldn't work, the pros and cons, the ways that it would best work. I think it's coming. I think that the best way, the only way that Blizzard can do it, will be to make it a preference queue where it doesn't have any hero locking, and where maybe the roles are better defined. And again, all of these steps across a lot of time, and with new, you know, new data and new like reports and bans coming out, and it's about Blizzard taking their time in the office to create a culture change. What they're telling me with these types of messages and these types of developments is that they want Diamond and above to be the cultured, hardcore competitive players. Anything below that, it's kind of like, it's not that they don't care about you, it's just that anything below that is not innately going to be the most competitive version of the game, and you can't expect it to be, because the simple fact is this, and I think Cliff said this in his video in some way, shape, or form. The simple fact is this: if you're below diamond, you either fundamentally don't understand a certain part about the game, you're, performing poorly or not as good as, other players out there in the world mechanically, or, the teamwork just doesn't ever, it doesn't click, and that's because of a combination of both of those things across all of your teammates. And that's just the simple truth. I have played on 4 accounts. Every single one of those accounts, I have not had a hard time getting them to diamond. And I've gotten to masters on my main account, and now I'm struggling to get back, but that's irrelevant. My point is this: no one, and I agree with Cliff on this statement, no one is stuck in plat, stuck in gold because of their team. If you're good, you will climb. And I mean, it's hard to accept that. It's hard for me to accept that, but that is the simple truth. I think over time, Blizzard, the Overwatch team, they want to legitimize the competitive scene. They want that path to pro to be a legitimate thing. They want people to be able to play and climb and be on a list of really skilled players. And they can only do that by shifting the culture of the player base, shifting the culture of the community. And that's what I think they're doing. So does this really change anything? Does getting rid of the performance, variable change much? Not literally, no. But what if it does over a lot of time? What if over a lot of time, one tricking becomes unacceptable in some way, shape, or form? And over months, over weeks, over months, over a year, the report system is now working. The ladder doesn't promote one tricking in terms of SR variables, and then everybody starts playing the game, quote unquote, the way it's supposed to be played. So that's my thought. Hopefully this was informative in some way. Hopefully this just starts some kind of a dialogue. Cliff, if you checked out this video, if you listened to the end, I appreciate it. And thanks for starting this kind of a discussion. I like how you asked for a response in a sense. Obviously I'm giving it to you in video form, but I love your content. So thanks everyone for checking out this video. Please not leave without leaving a like and subscribe for future content. I appreciate it again, and I'll see you on the next video.
Do you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earthquake? Do you feel the fire?